So I came out to the garage today to start cleaning up and getting everything prepped so I can finish putting my router table into the top here on my workbench, saw table. I'm not sure what I'm going to call this yet. And every time I go to move something around or put a tool away, I got to move all my sheet goods. I don't have a lot of them, but a couple pieces of sheetrock and a 1/2-inch piece of ply that I move around a lot. So I thought about going down to the store and buying a cart or building a cart, but every time I go into the box stores I end up spending a $100 bill. So I try to stay out of there as much as I can. I've got a bunch of scraps that I can use. I've got a box of scraps here, a couple pieces of ply, they're not quite 2 feet wide, and some 2x4s, and I've got this tiny rolling cart here. I mean, it's tiny. So I'm going to take the wheels off that, mount them to that 2x2 sheet of particle board there, and try and build me a small sheet goods cart. What I've drawn up here, just a rough idea, is something in focus like that. And I'm just thinking go 2 feet wide by 2 feet wide. I am not sure how well this thing will balance, but I'm building it for free, so I might as well throw it together and find out. And if it doesn't hold full 8-foot sheets, I'll still have something to hold half sheets, which should work just fine. I always try to use these blade guards whenever I can. I have had nightmares about running my hand into saw blades, and I've worked with people that have. And this saw, the guard is actually really nice because it snaps up out of the way, so I can get my work in there. This will be the first time I'm cutting anything on this new bench. That's kind of neat. Believe it or not, this flimsy little guard that everybody complains about, if you tap it a couple times and cinch it down, it's within a 1/16 of an inch or less in this short distance. And if I was going to cut long materials or something that mattered, I would run a straight edge up and make sure it's exactly square. Later I may build a better guide, I don't know. I'm splitting these 2x down the middle because on the base, I just want to mount some half 2x, just half the distance, throw some screws through it into the particle board, or from the particle board into the 2x, either way. And I don't want to waste any more of the scraps here that I have to because I'm limited on what I have. And the bottom's just got to have something to tie into. Once I cut these in half and get all my bottom pieces, I'm going to cut an angle into one side of this to match whatever the angle the sheet goods is going to sit at. So what I'm doing is, this thing is 23 1/4 by 24. I really wanted it to work out 24 if this was the sides here and the front and the back, say, because I want 24 this direction, just because it gives me a little more room for the little cubbies in the back. And I'm only planning on taking it up, what I figure here, 3'6", so it's not super tall. And I still set some stuff on top of it, maybe, or some small lumber. It's just going to be a very small rack, compact, you know, something. It's only going to stand that much taller than my table when it's out here. Basically, I'm going to have this guy on the edge here, tie into. And this guy's going to sit back here. 6 inches. Because I don't have a lot of sheet goods. This could be plenty of room to stack stuff. And the angle coming back, I'm going to cut that angle into this so that that small piece of plywood I can bolt right to the front of it, or screw to the front of it, and it's going to come up at an angle like this. And I'll have another one here. And I'm just going to tie 2x4s into this. I'm not going to put anything on the back. The top should come out approximately 9 inches wide at the top if it's 3'6" tall. That's my best guess. My total height is going to be 3'6". I'm not doing anything fancy here with the chop saw or anything else. I'm just squaring them off and cutting them with the skill saw, mainly because my compound miter makes a real mess. It shoots sawdust everywhere with this skill saw. I should say DeWalt saw. I call them all skill saws. Pretty much drops the dust right below me. I've been looking on the internet at homemade dust control systems made out of buckets and a big shop bag. I'm actually thinking about trying to make one of those. Anything's gonna be better than what I have now, which is nothing. I just flipped it over. I'm not gonna tie down the middle yet that I gotta cut the angle into. I want to figure that angle out. The easiest and fastest way for me to do that. Screw down these braces here, put my 2x brace on. And it's particle board, so I'm not going to cinch these super tight. Ouch. Kind of just seeing if it sits there square by itself without messing with it too much. And if it is, I've thrown one screw. This ain't gotta be perfect. A lumber rack. It needs to go that way a little bit, so I'm going to tie in this outside screw and then adjust it with the inside screw. I'm going to put it in just enough to poke that wood, so wherever I put it, it'll stay. Right about there. And if I need to tweak it later, all I gotta do is remove one of these screws. That's over. I'll put a cross brace on top in a second. So after playing with it for a minute, that angle on the saw is 15 degrees is what I set that saw at to get that angle. Once it's together, I'll let you know if it worked out right, but it looks about exactly what I wanted. So I need to mount that to my board now. And I'm just drawing a line on the back here so I don't miss with my screws. Still mark here, mark there. I'm just going to pre-drill some tap holes for these so I don't got to fight with the wobble on them. Yeah, the 2 seconds it takes to pre-drill these, you make up all the time in the world running the screws afterwards. Piece of ply, we'll screw right to that. There. Alright, so total height of the plywood face on the angle side is 42 5/8. And I've set the saw to a 15 degree, just like the bottom. So when it lays over, it's kind of flat on top. So I cut the top piece. It's just a square piece, 9 inches wide by 2 feet long. Well, 23 1/8 because that's a little shorter. And I left enough gap here so that piece of plywood can come in here and I can cinch to it. So I've got my piece just sitting here. And the way it drops in is just like this. And I'm just going to screw it down to the face down to the front here. And Get it positioned right. Just because it's a half-inch narrower than my base, it looks funny. And I pre-drilled some holes here just so this would be easier to do. You didn't have to watch me do it for 5 minutes. That tube I used in the back really had a twist in it. It's got at least a 1/4 inch of twist and 3 inches. But just a wood rack. I've said that 10 times. Yeah, it's pretty sturdy. Well, I was looking at it and thinking, man, this isn't real strong. It looks pretty flimsy to be laying a bunch of lumber on. But in reality, I'm only going to have 3 or 4 sheets, or maybe 5. I weigh 170 pounds. And I can put my full weight on it, tilted as far back as I can get on this. And this isn't going anywhere. I mean, I could ram it and bust this off here, but just pushing around the shop. So I set it up here on the table. I've already pre-drilled a couple of holes. Now, the casters will be screwed into 2x everywhere except for the end 2 screws on these two. So I'm going to cut 2 of these little brackets just to put up here and back them up. Won't be pretty, but it'll hold. And I don't have a bunch of lag bolts left over. So I'm just going with sheetrock screws or wood screws with some washers on them. Should be plenty to hold this little cart. I got exactly enough tiny washers to do this with. I do not want to lose any. I'm just going to loose fit them. Cinch those up. Head is all 4 casters on. Set it down, load it up, and see how it does. I'm going to start with my sheetrock just because it is rare that I pull that out. There she is. It does not want to tip over side to side unless I really put some weight on it. That's holding really well. As far as tipping back, I literally got to lift it hard. That works well. I am happy. That ain't going anywhere. I'm going to put some shelves in here. I got my runners. Then I'm going to take and set my DeWalt. So they're 15 degrees. And just chop the end of those braces off that I'm going to run across so that the ends of them match up with that angle plywood coming up, and I'm just going to screw straight through the plywood into the end of those for hangers. So there it is after I put the cross braces in it. I got my 8-footers and 4 6-footers in the bottom, middle still open, really don't need it for anything I got. My small stuff in the top there. And it's still nice and open in the back so I can see what I'm getting. I can reach in there and grab it. I can still move it around, no problem. This thing's actually really sturdy once you put those braces in. And I got just a little box of scraps and stuff here. I'm literally just going to toss in here. Makes a nice spot for my scraps box if I don't fill that middle shelf. Well, for a lumber rack, that is not bad. It's a lot better than what I had moving around, and it cost me $0. It's all scrap and stuff laying around in my garage here. If you were to buy that stuff, I guess you're spending 20 bucks, 25, and that's probably primarily on the wheels. Well, it's not fancy, but it does the job.